Hello, welcome to our Nada Veda Adhyayana Kendra Pravachana Malika talk number 29. We're very excited today to welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Kiruba Krishnamurthy, who is an assistant professor at University of Missouri, and she's going to talk to us on the status of taste, food, and hunger in the 21st century. So we'll get started with the program today with Veda Kusmanjali. Shivalinga, please.
Hari Om. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaah. Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah. Sthirairangaistasthabhagam sastanobhih. Vyasema devahitam yadayuh. स्वस्ति न इंद्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्ताक्षो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति न बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ओम शांति 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 ओम अग्नेनय सुपताराये अस्मान् विश्वानि देव वयुनानि विद्वान् युयोध्यस्मज्जुहुराणमेन भो इष्टां ते नम मुक्तिं विधेम ओम शांति शांति शांतिः ओम आब्रह्मन् ब्राह्मणो ब्रह्मवर्चसी जायताम् आराष्ट्रे राजन्यः शूरैषभ्योऽधिव्याधि महारथो जायताम् दोग्ध्रीं धेनुर्वोढा नड्वान् आसु सप्तिः पुरन्धिव्योषा जिष्णारतेस्थाः सभेयो युवा अस्य यजमानस्य वीरो जायताम् निकामे निकामेन पज्जन्यो न वर्षतु फलवत्यो न वोषधयः पच्यन्तां योगक्षेमो न कल्पेताम् ओम शांति शांति शांतिः ओम आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः स्तोत्रमथ बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वो ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोतु अनिराकरणम् अस्तु निराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ओम शांति शांति शांतिः ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ओम शांति शांति शांतिः हरि ओम नमस्ते.
Thank you, Shivangare. So I think I'll sing a song on the topic which is very relevant, which is on Annapurna food. So Annapurne Vishalakshi Annapurne Vishalakshi Akhila Bhuvana Sakshi Katakshi Annapurne Vishalakshi Akhila Bhuvana Sakshi Katakshi Annapurne Vishalakshi उन्नतगर्त्रे तीरविहारिणि उन्नतगर्त्रे तीरविहारिणि ओंकारिणि दुरितादिनिवारिणि उन्नतगर्त्रे तीरविहारिणि ओंकारिणि दुरितादिनिवारिणि पन्नगाभरणराग्नि पुराणी पन्नगाभरणराग्नि पुराणी परमेश्वरि विश्वेश्वरि भास्वरि अन्नपूर्णे विशालाक्षी अखिल भुवन साक्षी कटाक्षी अन्नपूर्णे विशालाक्षी रक्ष पायसान् पूरितमाणिक्य पायसान् पूरितमाणिक्य पात्र हे मदर्वी विधृत करे कायजादि रक्षण निपुणतरे काञ्चनमय भूषदाम्बरधरे तोयजासनादिसेवितपदे तोयजासनादिसेवितपदे तुम्बुरुनारदादिविनुतपदे दयातीर्थमोक्षप्रदचतुरे विमलशोभितगुरुगुहसारे अन्नपूर्णे विशालाक्षी अखिल भुवन साक्षी कटाक्षी अन्नपूर्णे विशालाक्षी
Thank you. Very nice. So we go with the introduction, and then Dr. Lakshmi also would sing. After 10 minutes, we give her a chance. So now we can go with the next item.
Nana, can you please introduce the speaker there?
Okay, you are going, you just, okay, I'll just do it. But before anything, it's very interesting. The master of the program is in blue, and the keynote speaker is in blue. And the other person is in white, who sang the Vedic prayer. And I am in the red shawl. Oh God, all combinations are, that is the taste of people in the world. And also the variety of food, as Anjane Prasad put it, including payasa, anna, and all that in a wonderful, well-cleaned Manikya Patra. So he started with the gems, and so it will be glowing. The container also is glowing, perfectly neat. So there is so much of suggestion given in this song rendered by Anjane Prasad Annapurne, and we are requesting her before all that. And today's topic is the taste, food, and hunger. These are the three online items. So whatever you prepare in the kitchen, the online, these three things must be loved by people, or there is a difference in loving all these things. And moreover, our keynote speaker, Dr. Kiruba Krishnaswamy, a food engineer. And she is very important professor in the Department of Food in the Missouri University, Columbia, and she has her own distinctions, X, Y, Z, and she has taken her PhD in. Actually, when I met her first in my son's place, when she said, I am food engineer, my God, there are only people, other engineers are there, mechanical, electrical, chemical, etc. But food also is such a great subject as that you should get a PhD in it. So now we are going to have a variety, and moreover, the history of taste. My professor, Dr. K. Krishnamurthy, was talking in our first year studies. Prabhakar, we should come to know the history of taste of people from generation to generation. See, what is one man's food is another man's poison. And what is another man's poison or dislike is another's food. That's exactly what in the song composition, in the song composed, which rendered now Annapurne Visalakshi, that I think the Dikshiter or Sama Sastri, who is, I just don't recognize, remember, he has said that, what is it? Pannagabharana Ragni. See, Pannaga Ragni Abharana. Pannagabharana andre Shiva. And he is highest taste is the liking the Visham. He just likes the poison, and that's the Abharana. But see, he may take that as an Abharana, but there must be controlling and all that. A good ruler, administrator, and controller. That is Ragni's Annapurna Devi. Therefore, we have, and moreover, the history of taste is very long, but now our keynote speaker has pitched up on the 21st century. So many centuries back, we have always this kind of analysis and liking, disliking, etc. But in 21st century, moreover, as she was talking, after COVID crisis, how are the people? And during COVID, there is a lot of controls, a number of things, and people have used that, and then now that has disappeared, fortunately, by divine grace. Now people are free to eat in railway stations, in airports, in trains, in anywhere they are able to eat it. But this all a wonderful change after this kind of crisis that we are facing. And again, in our Yajurveda, we have got a beautiful mantra which we have got to recite just at the beginning of our starting food taking. That's called Annapate Annasya no Dehi Anamivasya Sishminaha Prapradataram Tarisham Shanno Astu Dvipade Syam Chatushpade Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So Annapate Annasya no Dehi. Annapate Annasya no Dehi Anamivasya Sushminaha Anamivasya Shishminaha Prapradataram Tarisham Sennostu Dvipade Syam Chatushpade. You see, what is all jivas are Dvipada and Chatuspada. It is not mentioned any specific species there. All those creatures born in the world with 2 legs and 4 legs. 4 is plural, 2 is dual. Those beings which are 2-legged bipeds, they are all perpendicular to the ground. So they have more problems. Senses are there, and intelligence is there, and intuition is there. But these 4-legged animals, they go by the instinct. Therefore, that's one thing. Another thing is Anamivasya Sushminaha. I just want Anamiva means not causing any infection, indigestion, problem in assimilation, problem in circulation. Good God, food people take. But what happens after is Paramatma Anugraha. Therefore, they said Anamivasya and Sushminaha. Sushma is energy, strength. So that should provide you the energy or strength. And also we have to thank the farmer and providers of food at various centers. Even you are in the sky, your food plate is ready. Even you are in the railway station, your food plate is ready. So wherever you are, the food is available to us. In fact, in Sundarakanda, Adhyayana says, I continue to live in this Lanka only when if I don't find Sita, Astadano. And this is Astadana is important. Whatever that is reachable by hand, I would like to go on with it. So reachable by hand for him as a monkey, fruits and all these things. So you observe so much, and Sushmina means energy. After all, why should we take food? For benefit of number of things in our body. Because body is an ocean. We don't know what the body needs and all that. So in this body, Anamivasya Sushminaha Prapradataram Tarisham Shanno Vastu Dvipade Sham Chatushpade. So Shanti, Shanti, Arogyam, Arogyam, Argya. So for Arogyam, the tongue is important. That's the taste buds are the 6 taste buds are there, beginning from the tongue, going up to the the throat and down the stomach, and further the enzymes, and the abdomen is a big, wonderful machinery around it. It is there. So you observe how our body has been designed, all this. So today we are going to learn so much of knowledge from this because the Annapurneshwari whom we prayed, Kaya Jadi Dosha Nivarini Rakshini Puratani. So she is not live only in 21st century. She is live as long as the creation started beginning. So to such Annapurna, we salute. And we have another Dr. Lakshmi from MCS to sing another song on Devi. And afterwards we start the program. And welcome to all people who ever have joined and to join, and beautiful topic. Now, Dr. Lakshmi will sing a song, Sangeeta Anjali part. Hello? Rajagopalan. So, anyway, so I keep on talking before I for another few seconds. Probably she takes some time more little. So taste is ruchi. Food and our Prasad has put the food varieties. So many are there, but we have got. Yeah, please. Welcome, Dr. Lakshmi Garu. And again, we are back to we are back to support our Adhyayana Kendra with beautiful music.
Thank you. Annapurnaye Visalakshi, Annapurnaye Visalakshi, Annapurnaye Visalakshi, Annapurnaye Visalakshi. Akila Bhuvana Sakshi Kadakshi Rakshi Anna Punyam Visalakshi Akila Bhuvana Sakshi Kadakshi Rakshi Anna Punyam Visalakshi Akila Bhuvana Sakshi Kadakshi Rakshi Annapurnayam Visalakshi Akila Bhuvana Sakshi Kadakshi Rakshi Annapurnayam Visalakshi Akila Bhuvana Sakshi. Unnadam Ganga Tira Viharini Unnada Ganga Tira Viharini Omkarini Durita Tinivarini Unnada Ganga Tira Viharini Omkarini Durita Nivarini Pannakabaranarani Purani पन्नकाभरण राणि पुराणी परमेश्वर विश्वेश्वरी बाष्वनी अन्न पूर्णेय विशालाक्षी अखिल भुवन साक्षी कटाक्षी रक्षी अन्न पूर्णेय विशालाक्षी अखिल भुवन साक्षी पायसान्न पूरितमाणिक्य पायसान्न पूरितमाणिक्य पात्र हेमत्र विद्रुत करे पायसान्न पूरितमाणिक्य पात्र हेमत्र विद्रुत करे काय जाति रक्षण निपुण तरेय कांचनमय भूषणांवरधरेय तोय जासनाति सेवित परे तुम्बुर नारदातिनुत परे तरयनीत मोक्ष प्रद चतुरे दुरित शोभित गुरुगुह सादरे अन्न पूर्णे विशालाक्षी अखिल भुवन साक्षी कटाक्षी रक्षी अन्न पूर्णे विशालाक्षी अखिल भुवन साक्षी. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Wonderful rendering. Chama Shastri. Dikshitar has been brought into our things. Krishnaswamy Dikshitar, Guru Guha. Thank you very much for rendering such a beautiful song. Now, I request Dr. Kiruba Krishnaswamy to go with her presentation. Tell us about our tastes.
Hari Om everyone. Thank you, Uncle, for this kind introduction. And so today you're going to talk about the status of taste, food, hunger in the 21st century. So I'm Krishnaswamy. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Missouri. So I'm in the Department of Chemical and Biomedical Engineering, as well as I'm joined in Food, Nutrition, and Exercise Sciences. So today's topic, before I start, I would like to say, I would like to dedicate this presentation to all the gurus, ancestors, and the Guru Parampara, because this knowledge is being transferred from every generation. So we are truly standing in the shoulders of giants. So that is my dedication to all the gurus. And before I start, I would like to make declarations as well, that the opinions and point of view presented in this presentation represents the view of the presenter and do not necessarily represent the official position of the organization of the speakers affiliated. And the presentation is for information purpose, and it's not intended to replace your medical care. So that's the declaration. And so the agenda for today, I would like to take you on a journey about food and health from an Ayurvedic perspective. Then we'll talk about the taste and food. So the rasas, and then we will, once we start from ancient perspective, we'll go to the current definitions of health, hunger, food security, and what is the status in the 21st century? What are the challenges that we face as a global population? And one small case study about using underutilized grains, millets, and why do we need innovation? Because when we talk about the challenges, there is also opportunities, and what are those opportunities, and summarize. So that's the agenda for today's presentation. So the food and health. as we know, in Ayurveda is the knowledge of life, and it has been over 5,000 plus years. We do not know the exact age of this ancient form of Vedas. And according to Shrishita Samhita, the Ayurvedic definition for a healthy person is. So I will let you read the Sanskrit sloka, but I will translate this. One, sama means balance and dosha means the constitution. So one whose doshas are balanced and whose digestive fire, that is the Agni, is balanced, and whose bodily tissues, the dhatus, that says the mamasa, the rakta, so all those components, the tissues, the blood, the bone marrow, all those things are in balance, as well as elimination. They talk about mala, that is the excreta process, is also functioning normally. And those senses, that is the indriyas, the senses, the mind, the mana, and the self, atma, are filled with bliss. Such a person is called a healthy person. So how profound that ancient, our ancestors who were able to not only talk about the physical, but also the mental well-being, the overall well-being in a holistic way. So that's the wisdom we had. And currently, let's see where we are now. And currently, you can see a lot of articles in NCBIs that is supporting Ayurvedic, Indian medicine, and so on. So most of my presentations, I would either refer to all these scientific articles which are currently in progress. So now let's go into the taste aspect. You all know that when food is served, there is a form where, there is an order to it. And when that's what is being transferred from generation to generation. But now when we scientifically see what are the aspects of why we have to eat in a certain order, there's quite a remarkable understanding, and we're still exploring that. So as we said, that there are tastes can be classified into 6 tastes. That's a sweet, sour, salt, pungent, bitter, and astringent. And that also determines what type of food or the gunas that these tastes leads to. So it could be a sattvic food, a rajasic food, or a tamasic food. So as we know, the gunas, the food that we consume affects the physiological deposition of a human. And if we eat more tamasic food, that could lead to dullness, and the sattvic food provides more calmness, as well as the rajasic food is more extroverted. And there are more learned people in this cohort, and I would like to learn more about this. So let me move towards the Panchamaha Buddhas, because why I'm sequencing in this order is because the more we learn about this, the more we understand the ontological basis of these 5-element theory that our universe is made up of. Not only the universe, we are also made up of the same basic 5 elements. We can understand how our body and the food composition affects our physiology of the body and the taste as well. So the earth is the more dense, heavy, and static in nature. The water is more flowing, wet, soft, and the fire is the hot and sharp. The air is more rough, dry, mobile, and light. And the space is so subtle, clear, and expanding. So when these are the 5 elements, and these elements, when they are balanced, that's where the doshas come into play. When we're talking about the healthy person, when in the first slide I was talking, that leads to, if there is imbalance in the body as well as in relation to the cosmos, the physiological aspects can be summarized into these doshas. That is the vata, which is a combination of the space and air. The space and air. The pitta is the combination of fire and water, and kapha is the water and earth. Water and earth. So these are the tridosha, and there is an interesting relationship between this. So when we come back to our taste buds, right? So the rasas, we could now understand. We first saw the taste, but we can connect them to the 5 elements as well. The sweet can be correlated to the earth and water. The sourness can be correlated to the earth and air, earth and fire. The salt is water and fire. The pungency, the fire and air. The bitterness, air and space. And astringency, the air and earth. And you can see these are some of the taste buds. Like we have millions of hundreds of taste buds on our tongue. And for sweet, you have certain like these are the taste buds. This is foliate, the fungiform taste buds, and the papillae. The papillae are at the last. So different taste buds are responsible for exploring these rasas. Right? For the sweet, when we eat, these are the signals, these taste buds sends a chemical signal to our brain that says, okay, we are consuming something sweet. And sour, so there are, initially 10, 15 years ago, we were just, in the diagrams you would have seen only these regions. You can only, sweet means this region, salt means a tip region. But as we are learning more about this, we understand that these taste buds are randomly distributed across our tongue. And the tongue is like a fingerprint. How we have fingerprint, everyone's tongue is completely different. And the way these buds are arranged in every human being is completely different. There might be some of the taste bud that might spark the signal and can signal it's more salty. And if something is bitter, for example, we are developing a pharmaceutical formulation or a food formulation that is bitter in nature but has more health benefits. For example, it's a antioxidant or a polyphenolic compound. These compounds can be very bitter, but if you want to encapsulate it, that's why understanding this is so important. And we, like, the Monell's sensory sciences school, there is an institute in Philadelphia, and they are completely studying about this. The whole institute is devoted to study the taste and how we can improve and learn more about the taste buds. So that's one interesting area, and this is still in progress. We are yet to explore how some parts of the papillae or fungiforms can trigger the signal for a certain combination of taste. So that brings us to the doshas. Coming back, they are not only like related to the 5 elements, but they are also related to seasons as well and stages also. So you can see the kapha could be later winter and spring. You can feel because it's more, the system is becoming slow, and then after the spring, when the summer comes, it's more hot. It's the pitta that is more predominant. And then the fall and early winter, it's the vata. So that's why when we're consuming food in ancient times, seasonal food was recommended to consume during the different phases, different seasons. That was more sustainable. And not only to the planet, because those were naturally growing, but also to our system, our human body, our digestive system. So it was easy for our digestive system to digest the foods that were consumed during the seasonal phase. But now it's globalized, so we can consume any food at any phase, any seasons, and that these are things that we need to think about how, as we progress, we are addressing. And doshas also apply to the stages of life. A child can have more kapha, in an adult phase, it's more pitta because there is a lot of energy, and when the old age hits, it's more vata. So in different stages of our life also, these doshas change, and the food that is consumed also might change. And why I'm saying this is because as I said, the food and digestion, right? We have a wonderful system. I'm from South India, so I'm just sharing what we like, based on my limited understanding about food and digestion from an Indian perspective. And then when we go to the science of it, then I'll be able to talk a little bit better. So the food is served on a green leaf, which is, first of all, is appetizing because it's quite the contrast that itself triggers your brain to start secreting digestive enzymes. And also the phytochemicals, the chlorophylls in the green, like when we put hot rice on a banana leaf, the flavors, it has a unique aroma. And so that is because of the interaction between the chlorophylls with the heart. So you're getting those nutrients also as we're consuming. And when we are consuming, they generally sit down, eat on a banana leaf. So it's also a yogic pose where you are sitting down, and it helps in digestion. And we use our hands. Imagine your hands as these beautiful sensors, like lab on a chip sensors, but these are much more advanced. It can feel the texture, it can feel the temperature of the food. So these are all, like, as we are learning now, these are all triggering the digestive juices. What type of digestive juice needs to be secreted so that it could enhance the digestion of the food that's entering into the mouth. So we have another sensor. And then the order in which a food is served on a banana leaf also plays an important role in the digestion process. So just to give what is on this leaf, so I'm just going to walk you through. So as you say, the sweet, generally we start with the sweet. So the sweet helps in the secretion of salivary enzymes. So you have your saliva. So this is where we have our tongue, right? That's where our senses, like the taste buds are. But then as soon as something sweet hits, we have secretion of more salivary glands. And the more we chew our food, our digestion actually starts in our mouth. And then the next food that's consumed is the rice, dal, and ghee. So that's a perfect blend of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. So your body, so after the food, you have your salivary enzymes secreted, so it can break down the proteins, carbohydrates, and fat. And then after we have, the next thing is what is served is the rice and sambar, which is lentil stew mixed with vegetables. And it's a perfect blend of spices, pulses, like drumstick, vegetables, and all these things gives more fiber. So we had some proteins, we had carbs, now we are adding more fiber with also spices that can help in the digestion part. And then it's another a curry, more spicy curry, more tamarind based. So that helps in release of tartaric acid, and that helps in breakdown of the proteins and help aids in digestion. Because as soon as we see a lot of dal, which is more proteins in nature, so we need to have some acids to break them down. And then comes, it's all accompanied by vegetables and lentils, either in term of kutu or poriyal. These are all the side items, which is normally accompanied with the rice, that gives them like different textures, right? This is more semi-solid. The poriyal is more this is very. The viscosity of this is different from this viscosity, and this is more crunchier. So you're not only consuming the food, but you're also giving different textures to the food. And the more different textures, your brain can produce different enzymes. And these are all important, because now when people are studying dysphagia is a disorder when a person has problems in swallowing the food. And then we are understanding we need to have more textures. We cannot have only creamy whisk, pudding consistency. We need to have different textures so the different enzymes can be produced, and as it reaches our stomach, we have the perfect pH so that it can start digesting. And as it enters into a small intestine and large intestine, the fibers and all those things help the gut microbiome to utilize those fibers as a prebiotic and help the probiotic microorganisms to grow. So those are interesting concepts that we can see what was given to us as a tradition and what science is now proving these points. And then that comes with rasam, which is a pepper-based soup that also aids in digestion. And it's really good for after this heavy protein, you need to have some pepper and it's more liquidy. And then comes the yogurt, like, it's served the yogurt, rice with yogurt. So this is, or buttermilk. And this provides the probiotic microorganisms like lactobacillus species and along with prebiotics. So perfect, like the curd rice, you have the rice that is a prebiotic and you're adding curd that's a probiotic. So it was a beautiful symbiotic food that helps in digestion and also promotes the growth of good gut bacteria. And then again, it ends with the banana. So then it also helps in digestion. It's giving you like potassium, like minerals and vitamins and minerals that is required for health. So we are not only covering the macronutrients, we are also covering the micronutrients. So that was a beautiful balanced food that we had. And but now we don't, only once in a while we get to eat this full meal like this. And so once that is done, what time we consume food, that also has an impact in the digestion of the food, right? So this is what is being given in from the ancient knowledge, like Ayurveda. It's like doshas also applied to the mornings, like from 2 a.m. to 6 p.m. it's more Vata, and 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. is more Kapha, and 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is more Pitta. So that's the morning, and in the evening after 2 p.m. to 6 it's more the Vata, nature in a human, and 6 to 10 is more Kapha, and 10 to 2 is more Pitta. And so that's why we need to have, like, it's been recommended to have a routine, consistent, like continuous routine. So this is what was given to us. But what is science currently proving? In 2017, the Nobel Prize went to the discovery of circadian rhythm. So the circadian clock anticipates or adapts our physiology to different phases of the day. So this is what in 5,000 years ago, what was described in Ayurveda or different, like the Indian traditional knowledge. And this is in 2017, it gets a Nobel, like similar concept, gets a Nobel Prize, right? And what it says is a biological clock helps to regulate sleep patterns, feeding behavior, hormone release, blood pressure, body temperature. So science is, like, the more we are learning and understanding how our system works, and for example, 6 a.m. the cortisol is released and high alertness during the morning hours, then we have best coordination. So I have another image that creates a nice circadian rhythm. So if you're interested, there is you can just Google the Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine by Doctors Hall, Roshbash, and Young. So you can see their work about how light and the experiments they conducted to prove that circadian rhythm plays an important role in our physiology. So 6 a.m. that's where our the sharpest blood pressure rise, our melatonin secretion stops, and then the highest alertness are during the 6 to noon. And then from noon, the best coordination, fastest reaction time, and the greatest cardiovascular efficiency and muscle strength around 6 p.m. And then again, we have the highest body temperature. The melatonin starts secreting because after 6, when the sun is down, so the circadian rhythm kicks in. So we start secreting melatonin, and by midnight, that's highest production. So like 2 a.m. is the more deepest sleep, and 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. 6 a.m. is more, our body temperature are much more lower. So this is a cycle, and everyone's cycle might vary a different, because depends upon their the doshas, and so and more. We are yet to understand more how every human being is aligned with the circadian rhythm. So that brings us to, so this is what the 2017 Nobel Prize, and so now let's bring home what does health mean based on WHO, right? We saw what is health based on Ayurveda 5,000 years ago. So what is health? Health is defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. So that's kind of aligns with the definition we had there. And then here there is another thing. So this was adopted in June 1946 after the World War II. So that's when most of the big organizations, the World Health Organization, the FAO, they were all formed after the Second World War. And also what WHO says is the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health is one of the fundamental rights of every human being without distinction of race, religion, political beliefs, economic and social condition. So there is some social concepts here inbuilt. And then the health of all people is fundamental to the attainment of peace and security, and is dependent on the fullest cooperation of individuals and states. So it has so these are some of the concepts that are used to define what is health in the 21st century. Okay, and we will touch about how all these things are interconnected. So that's health. So what is hunger? So hunger around FAO, that is Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, formed in 1946 as well. And it defines hunger as an uncomfortable or painful physical sensation caused by insufficient consumption of dietary energy. So that's how we understand hunger so far. If it becomes chronic when a person does not consume a sufficient amount of calories of energy on a regular basis to lead a normal and active life. So for the past 50-75 years, we have been calculating or understanding hunger in terms of prevalence of undernourishment as an indicator to note, like, if there is undernourishment, then we correlate to hunger. And so this is how most of the statistics data were collected. But as we learn more, we understand it is not what is once, like when Professor Vagarji was telling, one man's food might be another man's poison, right? So the more we learn, we say we cannot have a definition that can fit a whole population group into this. So there was a new way of addressing this that became the food security. And based on this was around the World Food Summit, food security is defined as when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, nutritious food that meets their dietary needs, food preference for an active and healthy life. So this is what food security says. But so far, we have not even come close to what the definition for healthy life that was described in Ayurveda. So we are still scratching the surface of understanding what is health, what is hunger, what is food security. So there's a need for more holistic understanding of this systems. So why we need to understand it better is because we start the 21st century, we saw a lot of okay. So when we started, let me know if I. Sorry. So when we started the 21st century, we did see a lot of population growth that happened. And then we did see a lot of climate crisis. Whenever we have a climate crisis, it could be droughts, cyclones, rainfalls, fire, forest fire. What happens is it affects our natural resources, and that becomes a constraint. So when a crop fails, right? So then it affects the poorest of the population. Imagine, like, now, if there is a crop failure, it's a drought or a flood, the production of the crop goes down. So when the production of the crop goes down, the price of the food or the commodity that's being produced goes high. So when the price increases, not everyone in the society or the community will be able to afford that extra high the price. And only a certain group of the population will be able to afford it. And mostly the vulnerable population groups are left behind. And that creates a very cyclic cycle of hunger, poverty, hunger, malnutrition. So this is a very complex problem that is that we see. And as we started the 21st century, the number of natural calamities have increased. The number of climate-related events have increased, as well as the number of hunger has also increased. So these are some of the challenges that I want to share, and then see how we can create some solutions to it. So chronic hunger, as we said, is when a person is not able to consume healthy food for a prolonged period of time. So this is before the COVID, 2018 data, around 1 in 8 person was affected by chronic hunger. That is 821 million people are affected by chronic hunger. What happened after the COVID was, like, yes, there was lockdown. There was disruptions in the supply chain. Then when life came back to normal, for many people, it didn't happen so. So around 828 million people, 8 more million people were added to this. So when we talk about 8 million, it's like, oh, it's 8 million, but it's not just numbers, right? These are human beings who have families, livelihoods, and so many responsibilities. Children, it could be a mother, a child, and so on. So this is how between 2021, there are around, we say empty plates is because people do not have food. So this is a very big problem. But there is something much more dangerous, which is very silent, and it's called the hidden hunger. I just want to take a poll. How many of you have heard about hidden hunger before? You've heard about, just say, like, you can raise your hands, or no?
Yeah, I haven't heard about it, no.
Okay. Thank you, because that will help me.
We've heard only about chronic hunger.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that feedback, so then I can know where I should start. Okay, so hidden hunger is much more dangerous because we talk about chronic hunger a lot, but this affects more than 2 billion people. We were talking chronic hunger, 28 million people, right? It wasn't millions, but this affects 2 billion people on this planet. And especially this is due to micronutrient deficiency. And irrespective of developed countries, developing countries, everyone is affected by hidden hunger. And around 7 million children, before they reach their 5th birthday, die annually because of malnutrition problem. Right? We say children are our future, but we leave 7 million children just because they don't have access to healthy food. That is something unacceptable, right? When we have all the resources, around 2 billion people. So this is something that I've been always thinking about, and that's what is my why. When I became a food processing engineer, what was the drive that led me to carry on to master's, PhD, is because of this food security problems that I saw. And so when I had the opportunity to start my research program, I had this opportunity to bring these two systems together. So on one hand, we have hidden hunger, and chronic hunger is much more. Chronic hunger is a problem, but hidden hunger is much more bigger problem that we don't talk about. And that's what I want to bring to limelight. So hidden hunger, whenever we talk about hidden hunger, we always think about wasting and stunting. Actually, overweight and obesity also falls under the same umbrella. And this is what we call the double burden of malnutrition. And recent studies, Lancet reports have reported that micronutrient deficiency is one of the biggest contributor to the double burden of malnutrition. And I said this affects 2 billion people. Okay. On the other hand, we waste around 1.3, like 1/3 of all the food that's produced on this planet Earth is either lost or wasted. So it's like irony, right? We have food that could feed the people that's going as waste. On the other hand, we have 2 billion people affected by hidden hunger. And most of these food that goes as waste is fruits and vegetables, because they are the highly perishable. Grains, you can store them for a longer period of time. But fruits and vegetables are the highly perishable. Like how many tomatoes you have seen during a season going as waste, right? So these are the big challenges. So the biggest question here is, in nature, there is nothing called waste. Waste is a terminology that is used by human beings, because in nature, everything transforms to one from the other. Like we saw these cycles, like when we told the Panchamahabhutas, right? They are all forms. There is a cyclic transition, as well as every tree grows and ends, and there is a beautiful cycle of life embedded in nature. If we can learn that from nature, then we will not be calling this as waste or loss, but rather raw materials for our processing. And the whole idea of my research program is, how do we create circular systems to address hidden hunger? So this is the whole idea of our research program. And I know it's a complex challenge. There is no single bullet to solve this, but everyone can contribute. And how we are contributing in our lab is in 3 areas. One is upcycling of food-based food loss to create a circular economy to recover micronutrients from loss, and also prevention and processing of indigenous plants, neglected or underutilized crops, contributing to sustainable food systems. So that is one area. Once we preserve, protect them, they or recover these micronutrients, they are in native form. So that's where we develop nano, micro, or macro scale encapsulation systems for delivery of micronutrients to enhance the diverse food products. So we could do that using delivery systems. And once we develop these technologies, we can fortify them back into food in fortification programs to address the double burden of malnutrition. And as you see, all these things align with the zero hunger, that is a UN Sustainable Development Goal number 2. And the population groups that we are interested are working with are maternal and child health in urban, rural, and tribal community. So this is how in our research program we are trying to address these problems. And as I said, you can see this zero hunger is part of the SDG goals of SDG goal number 2, but we have other goals. And all these goals are the grand challenges, and it takes partnership to achieve these goals. So I want to share one case study of what we did in our lab. How do we create underutilized grains like millets? As we know, since most of us in this call are from India, we know that millets have been a big part as I was growing up, and most of you would have consumed it. But and now there is an interest that's regaining back. But despite this, these are still underutilized ancient grains. And so it's underutilized, but what are the pros of it is because these are highly drought tolerant, they are climate resilient, they have health promoting phytochemicals, they can be considered as a functional food. In the US, it's predominantly used as a bird feed, but in Asia and Africa, it's part of people's diet, and it is gluten-free, it has high protein, fiber, vitamins, and mineral content. And so you can see these are some of the millets that we had. This is some of the grains. And when we put under the microscope, you can see the structure is completely different. So, for example, you might see, why don't we talk about, or why don't we use more of these millets? The major crops that we talk is rice, corn, soybean. So these are like the rice, wheat, corn, soybean. So these are the major food grains that you can see. And there is less research, less awareness, or less food related to underutilized grains. So what we did is we wanted to see what happened. You can see this is the trend in the world until 2000, under the World War. There were a lot of millets that has been growing in acreage, both in India and different parts of the world. But after the World War, when the subsidies were predominantly focused for rice, wheat, maize, the farmers start to growing these crops. These are like neglected crops. So because they didn't have the return, like they were not subsidized, or they didn't have the policies in place to grow these crops. And that's why we can see a decline in the growth of millets from the 50s, 60s onwards. There's a steady decline in the growth of millets. And recently there is an increased awareness. How do we recover or bring these millets and underutilized crops back? Because they are highly climate resilient. And the way we go is around 89% of climate-related changes are related to droughts. So, and these conditions are going to change, is going to exacerbate as we move forward. So it's high time that we look into all these ancient grains and see how we can bring them back into our food supply chain. Especially during COVID, we would have seen the food supply chain was completely disrupted. And so that also said that how fragile our food system as well as health system are. So in order to diversify, that's when we need to think about other grains. And so you can see all these grains from amaranthus, it's from Latin America, from 8,000 BB and 6,000 years ago, banyan millet, and parts of China, Japan, Korea. So you can see we did a comprehensive analysis and said, how are these grains grown? What are the scientific name? Where are they grown? And what are the different names of for example, finger millet. Different language, we have the same different names, but it's the same scientific name. And so it was a very good experience for this. Another interesting thing that we found is all these grains, when we put them under the electron microscope, you can see the structure is different. So, for example, this is amaranth. You can see a beautiful coat, and this is pearl millet, very smooth surface. But barnyard little, you can see some physical damage is because of the mechanical dehulling that impacts the structure of the grain. And you can see finger millet. It has fine micro hairs, and that's why they can stick into any cloths and so on because of the microfibers. And sorghum is also quite a smooth surface. So all the physical characteristics correlates to the chemical characteristics of it. So if there is a mechanical damage here, that will lead to reduction in some of the nutrients content. And so then in the long term, people might not be able to get the same micronutrients. So this was the first report that documented that though they might look like same, the size, when we look under for our visuals in the, for our eyes, it might look similar, but when we put it into the microscope, the structure is completely different. And what we can see is, we can see that most of these millets, they have, this is rice and maize, most of them had essential amino acids, quite high number of essential amino acids compared to rice and maize. And and also they had a high amount of like mineral content as well as vitamin content. So we couldn't find that in most of our, most of our millets, they not only have a good amino acid profile, they also have a good micronutrient profile, unlike our staples like rice and wheat. And also there's like, studies that we could use them for complementary foods because of the high nutrient content in that food. And also here you can see that the amino acid content in the essential and the non-essential amino acids is quite high, and different millets have different profiles. So that gives us a complete food, rather than like, consuming something. We could just have a blend of millets that could give us both our micronutrient profile, our amino acid profile, our macronutrients. So nutritionally, it's beautiful. Environmentally, it's great. And why not we consume them and revive them back into the food system? So that brings us to the next question. Why don't we see these things in the market? And why do we need innovation? So as I said, we started from the ancient Ayurvedic perspective of what is taste, what is food, how did we define health? And then we moved to what is the current definitions of health, and what is the current status of health and hunger and food in this world. And then we did talk about some of the bigger challenges about hunger. And I just showed you a brief case study about how we can revive certain things that we already knew and scientifically prove them for their health benefits as well as for the environmental benefits. But we need more innovation, because the challenge we are facing is it's affecting millions of people, right? So we need more technological, environmental, social, policy-driven interventions. So we see a lot of innovations happening in the precision ag using IoTs, blockchains, big data, AIs, and predictive analytics. So those can be incorporated into our food systems to collect data and to empower stakeholders to make decisions, to not only to optimize operations, but also to increase the sustainability of our food systems, because we need all our stakeholders in place. We cannot just leave it to our farmers. We cannot leave it to our processors or the supply chain. We need everyone to address this grand global challenge. And some of the challenges that we see is what are these innovations? Where all can we have these innovations, right? We could use these innovations to eliminate malnutrition in mothers and children, and to break the cycle of conflict and hunger. So why this is so important is because if the mother is anemic, then the child is most probably prone to anemia. And so it's like a cyclic cycle, right? So if the mother is anemic, then the child is going to be anemic. And if it's malnourished and so on, then the child cannot perform well in school. The cognitive and the physical development of the child might be not reaching their full potential. So they might not perform well in school. So when they cannot perform well in school, then they cannot get the type of jobs that they can, or the economic productivity they could have had. And that leads into the cyclic cycle of poverty. And once poverty, then the woman might not have enough food to eat, nutritious food to eat, then the next generation. So this is a cyclic cycle. And it has been exaggerated, it's been affected by conflicts, hunger, and multiple climate crisis and so on. So it's high. In order to break this cycle, one way is through food, because we all eat food. And so what type of innovations can be given or adapted to address these big challenges? So the next one is okay, I need to that's fine.
Yeah, maybe the Zoom tools you have to use, right? For clearing. If you go to Zoom.
Aries.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Deleted. Okay. Thank you. That's helpful. Thank you, Prasad. And then also we need to talk about, once we talked about hunger, the thing is we waste around 1/3 of all the food that's produced on this planet. So how do we reduce food loss and food waste? So whenever we talk about food waste and food loss, these are two different concepts. 10 years, 20 years, even 5 years ago, we were grouping everything under one big umbrella. So for example, if this is our supply chain, food, this is where the farm, let's say it's the farm, right? That's where the food is grown. And then it goes into a processing center. And then it goes into like supply chain transportation. Then from there, the food, like for example, let's say apples, they are being washed, processed, they're transported, and these apples are coming to the supermarket, let's say a big storage wholesale place, then it comes to a retail place. And then as a consumer, we buy it from a store, and we take it to our home and we put it in our fridge. Okay, so if we have enough time, we consume that food, and if we forget that apple is in the fridge, then that goes as waste, right? So what happens is, we've said anything from the farm to all the way to wholesale to retail is considered as food loss. And anything from the retail to consumer, that is we people, to our homes and whatever waste we generate at home, is called the food waste. So 10 years ago, we were grouping everything together. And as you see, the way we have to address this, because this is not a point, the production is going to be high. The quantity that we have to address is more high compared to at home, which is much more smaller quantity, right? So we cannot have one strategy to address all these things, but this is where we're doing. The more we learn, we understand, okay, we need two different strategies to address this. So that's why, how do we reduce the food loss, or how do we reduce the food waste? So these are things that we can think as individuals. We can think about how do we reduce food waste at homes or in our schools, in our communities, and so on. In the food loss perspectives, how do we develop better systems from farm to fork, right? So how do we create those sustainable systems? So these are places where we can increase sustainability and build resilience. And also this is what was disrupted during this COVID, the supply chain, because this is very linear. If there is any break in any point, it's going to be very difficult to, we don't have feedback loop systems. So that's another place where innovations can play a big role. And the next one is to address poverty inequality through social safety nets. Most countries do have it. In the US, we do have it. And most of the developing countries, the social protection nets are also coming, but more agency is required, more policy is required. And because that is so important to help our rural farmers to connect to markets. And because if we don't help our farmers, it's like our food system will be in a very, very challenging situation. So that's so important. How do we make sure that they are given the resources, they are given all the necessary support system, so that we can continue, because they feed the world, right? So that's another place where innovation is required. And that comes to my conclusion, a few take-home messages. What I want to take home, what I want to give back is, how do we protect this ancient knowledge and wisdom that has been there for 5,000 plus years? And the more we are learning, science is proving, yes, these concepts do have some significance. But there are deciphering these codes because most of these scripts are ancient. And how do we translate to the current scientific terminology so that information can be shared to a larger population and we can all benefit as a human race? And how do we create more holistic approach to food and health? And also, how do we create awareness among the youth? Because the farming sector, many people, like, food is so essential, but we have less awareness about how food comes to our plate, especially among youth. So how do we create more awareness? And so these are some of the message that I would like to leave the audience. I don't have all the answers, but at least we can have a conversation and take this dialogue forward. So because the future of our foods is in our hands, because we have this privilege and opportunity to have good food, but what happens to the next generation, we do not know. Because of climate change, because of so many conflicts and so on, it's high time we think about how do we preserve food and make sure that the future generation can enjoy the benefits that we had. What my grandmother had and what her great-grandmother had, the quality of food was so different from what we are consuming now, right? So we need to think about how we can leave a better place for the future generation. And that brings to the seven generation philosophy. And I hope many of us know about this. And this is a thing that I learned, that it's not only in India, that but parts of Africa, parts of South America, they all have this concept of 7 generations. If a tribal leader or someone is making a decision, they think of the consequence for the 7 generations ahead. So my great grandmother would have thought about my great grandchild, right? So that's how the 7 generation philosophy comes in. And that was more sustainable because it had a long-term vision about how do we take care of our land, water, natural resources. But currently, our concentration is very short-term. And so we need to have a more holistic perspective of preserving our planet. You need to contact me. I'll be happy to discuss more. This is our website. And I would like to leave, food connects us all because we all eat. And on this, this one beautiful blue planet that we have, where we can grow food, consume food, and live happily. So it's one earth, one family, and we have one future. And this is the wonderful Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That's the essence we want to bring about, and hope everyone on this planet can have food for all. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kiruba ji. It's very, very wonderful talk. You have touched literally all the historic, scientific, even future research innovation aspects. Very excellent. And I hope you can talk also a little bit about Italy. And last time also I heard how the wisdom of our generations and the 7 generation idea, which is first time I'm hearing, but that is fascinating. And how there is a connection of what we've been doing and how it makes so much sense in terms of taste and our biological body, and how we define wellness, both spiritually and mentally and physically, right? It is the original quotation that you shared from our sages. And also you've given so much scientific basis, which is very rare for us to really understand. And so thank you very, very much for those wonderful remarks. And Nana, you want to make some summary comments? You're muted, Nana.
Yes, it is a wonderful job. But see, new light has been thrown into our heads. Though we are all familiar with some of the Vedic texts, because it's ancient, we have to reserve that ancient knowledge and wisdom and judicious management, organization. Oh, so many things are there. But I only know about the botanists trying to put acid on a beautiful rose flower and study through microscope. But now this Kiruba has given me a lesson that even the food grains are also exposed to micro in understand telescope. No, sorry, what is a scope? And try to study what is the content inside and how it is useful. This is exactly the food research, because the research means trying to dissect, analyze, find out, and see how much utility we are going to have. And so all that that the present day scientists are trying to expand and explain. But our rishis, as I see, they have given us a concluding answer like statements. For example, in Taittiriya Upanishad, we talks about annam too much. He says, Adhyate atticha bhutani is one. That is, bhutani or pranis, all those living must want food. And they eat. But again, adhyate is okay, eating, all that. But atticha bhutani means the food that you consume will eat you also. So adhyate, we eat. But what we eat, that will eat us also. That's why we have got so many diseases, so problems, so difficulties. And more so when people grow senior. See, while young, people don't know about the body, don't know about the digestion, they are just active. But as the age advances and so on, then the problems crop up. See, most of people will suffer chronic diseases and problems and all that only when they grow a little age beyond 50 and further. But while young, hardly we come across. So that's why atticha bhutani is one thing. And another important thing that I could see is the zero hunger. I mean, hidden hunger. See, this is a great problem with all children nowadays also. To see, mother knows that the child must eat, but the child does not give scope to be fed. So the child will run away from the mother. Mother has to run, feed. So because the mother knows the child is hungry and it should take some food, howsoever. So it is a problem. The hidden hunger is a problem in the children. And to fill that up is a problem in the mothers. So thereby you see so much of running and activities there. That's an interesting idea which I could grasp. So, and also waste food. And because people, though they are not hungry, still they sit before the plate and start eating. And they demand everything to be placed on the plate to have a darshan of all the food that is there. That's why nowadays we have got all darshans. Food darshans are there. That is, you only look at the food and never want to consume it. That's another wasteful problem. So the what food we consume is not at all commensurate to what food we waste. That wastage is there, and on the other hand also loss. So many food problems are there. See, actually, I should congratulate this Kiruba. She has started from farmer to our plate, the transportation. How much, see, there are so many pressures, atmospheric and social and religious, etc. This religion also plays an important place in the choice of food, etc. So thereby, food is a wonderful holistic situation where engineering is necessary. So people say inner engineering. That inner engineering which some Swamijis promote is important in the food system also. Because as our Kiruba has pointed out a circle where 24 hours divided in our body, what is the good time to eat? Sometimes some people ask me, what is the good time to do Gayatri Japam? What is the good time to get up? So in fact, when I gave a talk on Gayatri Mantram in Orlando in the Hindu University of America, a German lady, she just put a question, I never know, I remember. Sir, 4 to 6, 4 to 8 in the, 4 to 7 in the evening, 4 to 7 in the morning is a puja time. So which is the best time I can do it? Who can decide? I don't know. But still, we have some kind of prescription like that before. So the food will be like this or all. So that particular timetable, I mean, the circle that you showed is really interesting. But how many people follow that or know it or observe that or adhere to that? So I think a great deal of lessons have been provided today by our keynote speaker. And on the other hand, in Chamaka Adhyaya, Namakam, Chamakam, Purushoktam, everybody is familiar, all Rudrabhishekam. There are 11 grains that are listed, supposed to have been very much produced during that time. Masha, Tilas, Chame, Mudgas, Chame, Kalvas, Chame, Godhumas, Chame, Masuras, Chame, Priyangavas, Chame, Navas, Chame, Syamakas, Chame, Nivaras, Chame, etc. Yagnena Kalpantam. That Yagna is the research which our keynote speaker is emphasizing. Yagna is a very wide term. So trying to note down so much of Sushmata and Anamivata. These are the two headings. Anamivata, the food you consume must help you to grow. And the food you consume must give you energy, total energy all through the body. So this is how, our rishis are very good scientists, were able to give all that. But now today, I should sit, I like to sit on her class when she's taking class on food engineering. So we come to light so many things. Sometimes it's really interesting that we come across such a beautiful talk. And in fact, when I was teaching Abhignana Shakuntalam, other faculty teachers used to come and sit in my class, and though it was meant for BSc class. Because it doesn't matter, knowledge is such a great thing that everybody is not complete in it. So whenever the window of knowledge must be kept open. So I think we expect more and more, because we have only touched headings of so many of the, so headings when you make it, otherwise the footnote becomes a thesis topic many times to many people. So because the run is different, the goal is different, and achievement is different, degree is important. So my professor is, Prabhakar, get the PhD, afterwards you can talk about so many other things. So the PhD degree obtaining is important. I remember my professor Dende, no, all these things is plenty. No, just concentrate on getting the degree, not about the knowledge only. So in that manner, today's talk was trying to bring out a beautiful awareness to all people on this point, and very much thankful to you. We expect more and more occasions for you to appear, discuss, illuminate all minds, and that hiding hunger is a problem. Similarly, chronic diseases are there. Symptomatic diseases are there. Even the hiding hunger is also asymptomatic, in the sense that people always say, oh, I don't feel hungry. I don't eat now. Is it good? Gas fills up there. No, we say elders will, no, eat something so that the gas will be pushed out and you become alert and active. So many people say, oh, I don't have hunger today. I don't want to eat. I postpone. This is according to our Kiruba, she's angry on such people who say, I don't have hunger. I don't know about the idli that Prasad has mentioned, what analysis you had given about idli. And we just have to have knowledge about it.
Right. The idli is actually a wonderful food because we have a perfect blend of rice and dal, like urad dal, and this has some like methionine and lysine, some essential amino acids are missing in rice, and the urad dal has some essential amino acids. And when we bring them together, So it's like a complete profile of essential amino acids. And so it's like, and we have some, and it's fermented overnight. So there is probiotic, like, the fermentation helps the probiotic microorganisms to grow. And then we are not cooking it in oil, we are steaming it. So that's the heat transfer, the heat conduction. And the heat transfer into the food is so subtle that it is not going to rupture the nutrients in the food. So when you're going to consume that, you're getting the bioactive compounds, you're getting all the proteins, carbohydrates, and along with the benefits of the probiotics. So it's the best food that we have, and it's good for all ages.
And it is steam cooked also, very important thing. Steam cooked is better.
Yes.
No, I just, because you said, I just give you one shock. The Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University once, V.K. Gokak, and when he was introduced into the audience, another fellow introduced, our V.K. Gokak is so Indian and so Carnatic that even when he went to New York, he ate only idli sambar and returned to India. So that was, I don't know if that's a compliment or otherwise, but that's how he was introduced.
It's good for health. Like, even the WHO has recommended to idli is one of the good food for all ages. So
he ate only idli sambar and came back to India. Although he visited New York, so much of that. So like that, it's really interesting because even the menu that is being prepared in the kitchen has got a lot of science behind and thought behind and suggestions, recommendations behind. Because everybody wants to eat junk food, that food, this food on platforms and all, so many people. And these days, they eat in the platform, on the payments, junk food, and come straight home and go to bedroom and sleep. Amma will be waiting. Hey, come, I have prepared this. No, Amma, I did myself. So with junk food, they are happy and suffering afterwards. So this is how it's going on, the present-day children and present-day youth and all that. Anyway, it's a wonderful eye-opener. Now I request Govindaraj to have some comment because he's also a scientist, engineer. Govindaraj, Srinivas, have you any thoughts, sir? And so before he comes again, Purushottam ji, you are there to give some comments also.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity. I also realized that it's already 8:30 IST, which is probably we have reached the end of the time allotted for this. I just would like to make it very quick one. I very much like the talk of Professor Kiruba Krishnaswamy. Excellent thing. And she started mapping with the 3 doshas mentioned in the Ayurveda, mapping with the seasons, age, and time of the day, etc. It was all good. And so many good things are there. I don't want to repeat and then consume time. Instead, first of all, I thank on behalf of the Nada Veda Adhyayana Kendra and my personal behalf, an excellent and very useful talk. I would like to leave a couple of questions like things. So she may not have time to answer them, but I will also try to investigate and find out so that, any good talk should raise some more questions. So the thought-provoking ideas would probably further our research. One thing I was thinking is about the WHO. Has it recommended any standard menu which can be used for the poor and uneducated people, whether it is any program from the government or for the individuals to implement? We, for example, in India, we are not using millets as much as we should probably have to, and it has been there so much in the news in the last few years. There are some challenges in using them because processing them is not easy. We don't have good mills which will do that job, etc. So we leave that. But is there any standard menu WHO has recommended? That is one point I wanted to know. Second thing is, it is said that fruits should be eaten before the normal food. That's one, the WhatsApp university information I'm gathering. I don't know whether it is true or not, but you have specifically mentioned that bananas are generally consumed after the food, which is a standard practice in South India. But how do these two things work? It is said that the fruits are processed first, and it is first in and first out type of processing. So fruits, if they are processed a little later after an hour or two, they may get spoiled within stomach. Is something like that. I don't know, but probably there's good reason for you recommending it. And you mentioned good menu of South Indian food, but probably you ignored the North Indian food. Maybe equally good good benefits are there in that also. One more thing is tamarind, which is heavily used in South, at least in Maharashtra and above, they are north of India. They can consider that tamarind could create pains or problems, body pains, etc. It's not all that good. So, but probably it is in combination with the type of food we eat, right? Like rice and idli, sambar, etc. It may be good. Don't know. These are some points which I quickly noted down for my research or for my finding out. Also, since you mapped the doshas with the timing of the day, I was wondering, is there any specific knowledge which you obtained out of your study of the timing of early mornings? Like generally, it is said that Brahma Muhurta is very good for meditation and for study and things like that. Your study has thrown any light in the direction. These are some of the points which I noted down, but I don't have to necessarily answer considering the time factor that is there. But you are most welcome to do that, depending on the time and the permission of Professor Prasad and also Guruji. I leave it here. Thanks very much. I really appreciate, and we look forward to hear you more often. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you answer some.
Yeah, I could answer some. So for WHO, there's instead of standard menu, they have fortification programs for every country. Like what type of food is required, what is the deficiency in that particular country. For example, in India, 50% of women are anemic. That is 2 Indian women, 1 is most probably anemic. So that's the highest record, as well as 70% of children are also anemic. So if we have a population group which is experiencing a specific micronutrient deficiency, then the food is iron is fortified with salt, or like in wheat, flour. So there are programs specific to the food commodity, but there is no specific diet that the WHO recommends. But there are other reports saying the Mediterranean diet is good. So there are different DASH diets. Those are all from separate separate studies, but WHO doesn't say this is a standard menu, because it will vary for different countries. And then regarding the tamarind thing, I'm sorry, I would love to add North Indian food as well. I didn't have time to add. Maybe in another talk, I will add the North Indian food. And for
yeah, I understand, but I only thought that the South Indian food is far superior to North Indian. Therefore, you mentioned only South. I thought so.
It's just I'm from the South, so it was easy to pick the South Indian food.
Understand.
Yeah. And for the tamarind, it's like you need to have a balance. Everything is about balancing. So what are the proteins and how much we balance it, so that it's easily, it acts as a cofactor or a coenzyme. The tartaric acid helps to break down the protein, rather than if you increase that, then it's going to cause other problems. So balancing is very important. And then the dosage, like the time, that's still, I have not done time restricted studies as such, but what I've read from the literature is that consuming food aligning with the sun, right? You eat after the sun and you eat before the sunset. So then that's where your digestive system is more active, and it's easy to digest the food, because eating late at night, it's the system is already going into the melatonin phase. So it's like we are stressing the system more. So 6 to 6, that's the window to consume food. So this is what I've read through some research articles, and I could follow up with other questions considering the time. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Govindaraj, is he there? No, I don't know. Or Dr. Lakshmi, is it our Rajagopalan? Anyway, so Sivalinga, so very good. It's a big subject, ocean by itself. But food is very much important. Aharadeva sarvam jayate. Everything is from food only. And therefore, today we have a nice awakening about the food analysis and food importance and food choice. And thanks to everybody. Anything that our Prasad wants to add, and then we'll go to the, I'll ask Sivalingaya to.
No, I think thank you again, Kiruba. This was very wonderful talk, and appreciate your expertise and sharing all of that with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you
Shivalingaya,
said,
please. Yes.
Om Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hariye Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Yadavendraya Gnanamudraya Yogine Nataya Rukmineshaya Namo Vedanta Vedine Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnan Vande Jagadgurum Om Shanti 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 Apadamauli Paryantam Guru Nama Krutyam Smaret Tena Vignaha Pranashanti Siddhyanti Cha Manoratah Yadhaksharam Padabhraktam Matra Yinantu Yadbhavet Tatsarvam Shamyatam Deva Narayana Namostute Visarga Bindu Matrani Padha Padakshirani Cha Nyunani Chatirikhtani Kshamasva Purushottama Abhirgirbhir Yadato Na Unamapyayaya Hariho Vaddhamana Yadha Stotrabhya Mai Gotra Rujasi Bho Istabhajo Adhatyeshama Brahma Pravadi Smatanna Mahasit Om Shanti 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 Om Sahana Vavato Sahana Bhunakta Sahavidyankaravavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastama Vidvishavahe Om Shanti 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 Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyanta Markaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Satam Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamasta Shri Vasudevarpanamasta Shri Veda Purusha Ashirvadosto Om Shri Matru Charanaravindarpanamasta Om Tat Satam Hari Om Namaste.